Yo, welcome back to the No Pusher Podcast. It's Coughlin.
Yo, what's up, it's Kyle?
And yeah, man, playoffs, playoffs has been crazy. Playoffs has been crazy, and we're giving you guys our updates on the playoffs. I mean, games 4 and 5 has happened, and some series has already ended, some is still going.
Yeah. Yeah, first series, right off the bat, we got the Celtics and Heat that literally just wrapped
Mm-hmm.
up right before we started recording.
Yep.
Final score was 84 to 118. Besides that one game, like the Celtics were pretty much in control of this entire series, which was expected, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the amount of talent they have on their
Yeah.
team. Derek White back to back crazy games, 25 points, Jaylen Brown, 25 points, Jason Tatum. A little bit of a down scoring game. He really didn't have to do too much. 16 points, 12 rebounds, and they had Hauser off the bench with 17.
Yep.
Aside Bam had
Mm-hmm.
23. Like when you can pretty much get four guys, giving you damn near 20, and we're not even mentioning Drew Holiday. We're not even mentioning Porzingis who just got rolled out for round two. This is a
Mm-hmm.
dangerous team, right? And again, like as I've been saying through all these games, there should be no reason why the Boston Celtics don't sleepwalk into the finals, right? Like in my
Yeah.
opinion, there's nobody really out east that can challenge them, and
Mm-hmm.
but only time will tell.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody want to talk about how the Heat they won that first game. I think game 2 or whatever, and they're like, oh, could they possibly change, make the series a little interesting? Celtics they just showed up and like spanked them 3 games in a row. It's like nah, put an end to all that BS, right? And I just want to quickly just say Derek White, man, playing like the best player on the team, putting the team on his back. I think game 4 he had let me see, he had 38 points, and who knows, that could be because Messi was in the crowd. Messi was in the crowd. He is a soccer fan, so that could have been that. And I don't know if you guys saw, if you guys pay attention to the social media or anything, but that was his first. That was like Messi's first NBA game, and so they just memed him saying they're like, oh, Derek White had Messi thinking that he's the best player ever. But no, man. But yeah, Celtics, like you said, easily the best team, out east. Um, you can arguably say in the whole NBA based on throughout the whole season, but well, that's to be determined. But yeah, the Celtics this has been doing taking care of business. That's all it is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, speaking of the team taking care of business, right? We got Nuggets and Lakers, and
Yeah, yeah.
man, oh man, Jamal Murray does it again. He has 32 points, seven assists. Obviously, another game winner.
Mm-hmm.
Jokic 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists. Um,
Video game numbers.
Michael Porter Jr. With 26. On the other side, Brian tried his hardest. 30 points, 11 assists, 9 rebounds. Anthony Davis 17 points, 15 rebounds. D'Angelo Russell 14 points on 6 for 15 shooting, and Austin Reeves 19 points. It was kind of that graphic that was floating around. Like, the Lakers led like about 70% of this series, and they still lost in a gentleman's sweep. And it's just one of those things where every single game was close. It was just when it gets down
Yes.
to the fourth quarter, those moments, right? You got Jamal Murray hit 2 game winners in one series, right? Like, if those shots go the other way, we're talking about a different series. But again, that's
Yeah.
hypotheticals, right? The Lakers, if I'm not mistaken, in every single one of these games, they led at halftime. So it's just that second
Yeah.
half adjustments, not being able to, keep that foot on the gas that ultimately ended up costing them this series. But again, shout out to Jamal Murray. As
Yeah.
we know, when it comes down to playoff time, he ups his play. So, again, shout out to him. And
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Nuggets. It just goes to show, man, that they have championship pedigree, right? I think one thing that I mentioned from the last podcast we just posted, and I said that Jamal Murray and Jokic, they're the best duo in the NBA, right? Like they're able to understand each other's game, and they affect the game 2 different ways, right? And it's And when it, like you said, like when it comes down to when you gotta have it in playoff moments, they show up every single time because they've been there and done that, right? And it hasn't been only like 1 year in coming. It's been a few years in the coming, right? And they've been on a roll just like the Celtics have. And I think that's like what the whole world has a collision course of the Nuggets and Celtics, right? And so it'll be interesting how far they go. They have an interesting, very interesting series coming up in the second round, which we'll get into that a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the perfect segue to kind of go into talk about the team that's going to be facing them. On the other side, the Timberwolves belt to ass, right? They get if I'm not mistaken, you get the first sweep of the playoffs, right? They sweep the Suns. Ant
I
Man goes
predicted
off.
that, right? I predicted the Wolves to sweep,
Oh
right?
yeah,
For sure.
yeah, 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 100%.
Yeah.
You definitely didn't say Suns, but winning like six or something. But yeah. So Ant Man, goes crazy. 40 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Cat, 28 points, 10 rebounds. Jaden McDaniels, 18 points. On the other side, Devin Booker did all he could. 49 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. KD 33 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. This is the stat of the fucking season. The rest of the team scored 34 points.
Yeah.
This is what I was saying at the beginning of the season when everybody kept talking about the fucking Phoenix Suns. They are not a basketball team. They're not a
Yeah.
basketball team. They have two consistent guys. They got one consistent guy in KD, right? And they have another guy in Devin Booker that can go nuclear, right? Their third guy, Bradley Beal, he's been nowhere to be found all season, right? It's just the reality of the situation, especially in the playoffs. He's been nowhere to be found. And after their fake ass big three, they have Walmart greeters out there hooping. Like none of these guys that they have on their bench or any of these other playoff teams would get minutes, and that's just the reality of it. But that's because they allocated so much of their cap space and salary to these three guys that yes, can they all go off for 40? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, there's only one basketball, and this is not NBA 2K, right? You need to build
Yeah.
a roster that complements each other. That
Yep.
they don't have a single stopper on their team, right? If they have somebody on the opposing team that's really going crazy, they have nobody to throw at them, right? They have no really outside shooting besides Grayson Allen, who's, if I'm not mistaken, been like
Yep.
besides that, they have a bunch of just guys and names that yes, obviously they play basketball, but they're not players that should be getting playoff minutes. And as we can see, the results of the sweep. And the I believe the team owner came out and said, obviously they're going to do some retooling or whatever, but he feels as though that this season was a success. And I mean, I guess it's one of the
Mhm.
things that you have to tell yourself, right? You can't just, that you have to say that if you're the owner. But
Right.
it is this team is one of the most disappointed teams in terms of the level of talent of their big three, the level of hype and anticipation. But again, I called it at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think the one thing that really stuck out to me from what you said is like they don't just like the big three that they have. Like they don't complement each other at all, right? The one thing they all do is just score, right? And like none of, like you said, none of them can play actual point guard. None of them can actually defend, like guard the primary defender, and it's just hard, right? Like you look at their roster, right? They're very very undersized at center position, right? Which they always going like coming into the World Series, it wasn't really as favorable, right? Because like the Wolves had three centers, and sometimes they would play a big lineup, having all three of them playing at one time, right? And from that standpoint, it's like who's going to rebound the ball, right? You're not going to count on Devin Booker to rebound the ball. You can't rely on KD to rebound the ball all the time, right? And so it was just very tough for them to just come into this series and like make it a little bit harder than you know the should it be or whatever. But yeah, credit to the Wolves though, like they went crazy. They went crazy. And I just want to say And this man, Anthony Edwards, has, you know, the way, if he keeps on going, and we'll see how he does, in round 2 and so forth, right? He could cement himself as a top 10 player in the league, man. And who knows, he might be the top 10 player right now, right? Who knows? So
Yeah,
I just think that this is just a very good start for them, because you know this is a series we all been waiting for ever since last season.
mm-hmm. Yeah, listen, like to your point about Anthony Edwards, like he's putting himself in that conversation where going into next season, he should be one of the favorites for MVP, right?
Yes,
He is
100%.
playing at a level where, listen, playoffs is not everything, right? But this is
Mm-hmm.
where your legacy is really made, outside of
Mm.
basketball, where you have these moments, you have these series where you just take over. And that's exactly what he did for 4 straight games, right? Against a Devin Booker,
Mm-hmm.
against a KD, right? Household names, right? Where not only can he stake his claim as, listen, I'm the best two guard in the league, but like you said, possibly top 10, pushing the top 5, right? And put
Yeah.
himself in a position where, listen, I am the most valuable player of this league. So, for a guy that's so young, right? I believe he's only 22 years old. Like, such a
Yeah.
bright future. Like, and listen, it's just one of those things where you just have to, you know, I was talking to one of my homies about, the fact that, Brian, KD, Steph, but it's like you just have to think about like how bright the future is, how many young guys we have in this league
Yeah.
that aren't even like 25 yet that are like doing big things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, as a sports fan, you just can't be anything but excited for the future. And like you said, right, they're running it back. Denver and Minnesota, right? So this is a team that has given Denver problems last season. Obviously, I believe Denver still won in 5 or 6, but
Yeah.
matchup wise, they match up really well against the Denver Nuggets, and they're going to make it hard on Jokic, right? Like you mentioned those
Mm-hmm.
three centers. They have 3 7-footers to throw at them. So this series will really come down to can Jamal Murray, can Michael Porter Jr., can Aaron Gordon, can they hit shots and vice versa, right? Can Jaden McDaniels find a bit of that magic he had around one? Can Cat hit his shots? Can Rudy be as involved as he's been these last 2 games, right?
Yeah, 100%, man. And shoot, yeah, I think since while we're at it, might as well just put up a prediction going on. I know it's a little early, predictions. They don't play until Saturday, right? But just initial reaction, initial thoughts. You know, I think honestly, I think it might go 7. I think it goes 7.
This may be a
But
hot take, but I
ooh, a
think
hot take.
I think one of these teams.
6. Do you think it's like convincing 6, or is it like tight? It's like battling.
I think it'll be a close 6, but
Okay.
I might as well just say I think Denver gets it done in 6. Um, I
Yeah.
just think Jokic, like when it comes to that top end talent, and when you talk about Jamal Murray that already in this one playoff run already has 2 game winners, it is not out
Mm-hmm.
of the realm of possibility that one of these guys has a couple more in them. And
Mm-hmm.
as great as these guys have been playing in Minnesota, let's not kid ourselves. The Phoenix Suns play zero defense. They play zero defense.
Yeah.
So I think Denver is
Yeah.
definitely going to be better defensively. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think they get it done in 6. And listen, this may be to 5 games and they do 7.
Ooh. Okay.
Would
I,
not
I,
be
I could
would
definitely
not
see
surprise
that.
me.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I mean, I think no matter what, I still had the Nuggets winning anyways, right? I just think that the Wolves has been really impressive, but like you said, at the end of the day, they played the Suns, and when you play the Suns versus the Nuggets, that's a whole different animal, right?
Yep.
You talking about, you go from like I don't know, you go from like a little tiger to like a fucking elephant, right? So like
The
it's like
best.
two different. Exactly. Exactly. And so, it's definitely gonna be a very interesting series for sure though. Like it's a must tune matchup for sure.
Oh
But
yeah. Yeah.
that said, we've been talking about like, guys that are young, changing up the guard essentially, right? And you know what? Let's talk about this Thunder's team, man. This Thunder team who not only they were the youngest number 1 seed. They are the youngest team to have a sweep or win a playoff series in their first round. And credit to them and the coaching staff, to Sam Presti, who built this team from the bottom up, right?
Yep.
Where you can compare this, or you can arguably compare this to like the era where they had Russell Westbrook, KD, Harden, right? And it's similar because I don't know. I mean, obviously they don't have a true K type of player, but Shea, he's up there, man. He is up there, and
Yeah.
don't sleep on Jalen Williams. Don't sleep on Shet. Don't sleep on other role players. Josh Giddey, on all the memes about him and everything, but he's been stepping up these playoffs, man.
Yeah.
Right? But this Thunder's team, they've been playing as a team. Like this is like
Yep.
they it's nothing like, oh, Shay, here, you do your thing or whatever. It's like, no, here, you get the ball, you get the ball, you get the ball. Everybody's touching the ball in one
Everybody's
single
touching
play,
the
right?
ball.
I just love stuff like that. And I think the main question we had with the Thunder is that Shet, we were saying that will he be able to hold up in a playoff series,
Yep.
right? And so he held his own. I mean, obviously Jonas Valanciunas is not going to be the center from the future or whatever, right? But you take it in context. That's still a good veteran center he's playing up
Mhm.
against, right? So he held up his own, and he did pretty much the same things he's been doing in the regular season, and you just love to
Yep.
see it, man.
Yeah. If it is one of those things, like to your point, the question about Chet was, skinny. Is he going to be able to stay injury free? Well, he hasn't missed a game, right? He played 82 games in the regular season and now has played 4 playoff games. So I guess at least so far, his first season, he has bucked that idea of he's too skinny or whatever to keep up. But you're talking about being the start playing 82 games plus now with the playoffs. The starting center of one of the best teams out west, right? So it's not like he's avoiding these big time matchups. So and his team he's still producing. His team is still getting wins. So I think hats off to him. Obviously, like if it wasn't for the fact that Victor Wembanyama existed, he would be far and away the rookie of the year. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, hats off to him. And listen, like you just said, very young team. This
Hmm.
I predicted this. It was actually funny. I predicted them to win at 5. They wound up sweeping, which again does not surprise me. It didn't matter whether it was
Yeah.
the Pelicans or it was the Kings. I think they're clearly the better team. They were going to get it done. But now,
Yeah.
right now they wait for the Mavericks and Clippers series to end, and we'll definitely touch on that a little bit. But listen, they find themselves in a perfect situation, similar to Boston, where they got their series out of the way, and now they're really just waiting, right? That's kind of the beauty of being the number 1 seed, where now you can, rest for a couple of days and wait for those series. If you're, a Boston fan, if you're a Thunder fan, you're hoping that these other series go to 7, so you guys have the most amount of rest you could possibly have going into this next round, right? And this is an advantage that not a lot of teams have, right? A lot of teams that's kind of one of the bad things about like, yeah, we won this series, but it took us 7 to do it. And now we're going right back into another series that might go 6, might go 7, right? That's a lot of games, a lot of miles you put on your
Yeah.
body. So,
Yeah, and like what's it called? Speaking of like, waiting for teams for like, to play up against, let's talk about one of them. Right? Let's go, out east. And we're talking about the Cavs and the Magic series. You know, Obviously, as you guys know or may not know, the Cavs are up 3-2, but prior to that, the Magic they they started to find something. They started to generate this offense to where it was like, where has this offense been going for the get past first 2 games, right? And then they handled business games 3 and 4, which was very very convincingly, right?
yep,
But then what a game 5, man! If you guys didn't catch that game, oh my lord, down the stretch, it was just back and forth, right?
yep.
And
It was a
this is
wire.
what me and Kai has been waiting for. Paulo to step up and be aggressive, right? And he had himself a day. He had 39 points, right? But guess what? He had all those points, but it didn't. It came up short. You know why? Because on I think the second to last shot he had was he drove into the lane and he got blocked by Mobley, right? And Mobley, he's been one of those guys, with like he was a former top pick in the draft, right? And people were talking about him as like a potential guy to be like an AD type of player, right? And obviously he hasn't shown it, especially on the offensive side, really, right? But he's still developing that type of game, right? But defensively, for sure, you've seen this out the whole series that when Mobley is on Paulo Banchero, he's had trouble. He has had
Yeah.
trouble, right? And so it's credit to the Cavs coaching staff to just be like, all right, Mobley, these last few minutes, stick on him, stay on him
Yep.
the whole time, right? And so they found something there, and I think they'll definitely take that in mind heading to like Game 6 and try to hope to close the series out. But the Magic, they're going back home, so they're gonna find a way. They got to find a way.
Oh yeah, and this is what I've been saying about this Mavs team. Like, this is not going to be an easy series for the Cavs. Like, for the people that thought that the Cavs were just going to walk right through Orlando, they got another thing coming, right? The Magic
Yep.
are a good team, man. They've been a good team all season, so it does not surprise me that this game is close, that the series has been close. Like I said, I predicted the Cavs to win in 7, so this is going right according to plan, right? And I believe that the Orlando Magic will take care of business out in Orlando, and they'll be punching the ticket to a Game 7. But to talk about this game, to your point, Paolo, 39 points, 8 rebounds, right? They only final score was 103 to 104, right? No other player on the Magic besides 2 other people had 10 or more points, right? So all you're asking for is for somebody else to step up and listen. The
Yeah.
Magic are up 3-2, but hats out to the
Cavs.
Cavs. Donovan Mitchell. After having some 28.6 rebounds, Darius Garland has been up and down this entire series. Right,
Mhm.
he's he has a missing report, right? He shows up 23 points. To your point about Evan Mobley, who, in my opinion, is one of the best defensive prospects that we've ever seen, right? Especially in the modern era. If you're talking about
Yep.
before Victor Wembanyama, Evan Mobley, in my opinion, since AD, his name is at the very top of the list of guys that you knew when coming out of the draft, you were getting a guy that could compete for Defensive Player of the Year for the rest of his career. And we saw, like you said, you saw that with down the stretch, his defense on Paolo was amazing, right? Like, you couldn't coach it up any better. And again, the Cavs were able to get this W without Jared Allen, who has been arguably their most consistent player this entire series. So this
Yep.
up without him was big time. But again, this is a series that
Yeah, and speaking of teams that's trying to force Game 7s, we got two of them actually, right? And let's quickly head over to the Pacers and Bucks series where the Bucks got down 3-1, and that was mainly because Dame, he went out with the injury, right?
yep.
And which he didn't play the past 2 games. They lost one. That made them down 3-1, and the last game, hey man, like I said, my friend who was a Bucks fan, he tried to avoid to not watch the game, but as soon as he saw the score, he's like, I just gotta watch. It's the fan in him, right? And so like he turned on the game and he was just very very nervous. But the Bucks, they clutched up near the end, and Middleton, Portis, Patrick Beverly, the whole nine, they all stepped up, and that's what you want from like a team where without your 2 best superstars, where you get the offense from, right? And Middleton, he showed out these like past few games, man, and who knows? This might be his series to take, right? Like everything is literally on him because who knows when Giannis and Dame is going to be back, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Bucks are even in this position, right, where obviously they were down 3-1, but they're in a position right now where they forced a Game 6 without both of
Mm-hmm.
their best players, right? Giannis hasn't played a single
Yep.
minute in this entire series, and the fact that they found themselves in a position, it hats off to these players that are, they're fighting, they're not giving up. Um, you
Mm-hmm.
know, Halliburton, 16.66 assists. No one else on that team had 20. Well, first of all, nobody on the team had 20, right?
Hmm.
We've been talking about Spicy P, Pascal Siakam this entire playoffs. This was his bad game, right? And it
Yeah.
came at the worst possible time. So hopefully, for obviously for their sake, they're able to bounce back in this next game, try to get it done. But if not, you got Chris Middleton, right? A guy that me personally is one of my favorite players in the league. I love his game. I love the way he
Hmm.
carries himself. Especially
Hmm.
on that championship run, he was a dog, and there's a lot
Yes.
of conversations, especially once he was injured last season, kind of playing through injury. Started off this season slow. There's a lot of conversation about right, like how much does Chris Middleton have in the tank, and he's showing right, like he's putting the team on his back because he has like 29 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Bobby Portis with 29 points, 10 rebounds. One of the best bench players in the league.
Yes.
Step up without Giannis, and he's showing like, listen, I am still a great player in this league. Beasley,
Hmm.
18 points, and my man Pat Bev, 13 points and 12 is one of the best post game interviews of the playoffs so far. Where they were talking about Tyrese Halliburton, and he says, "Listen, if I gave you the ball for 41 minutes, you would get 10 assists too." And listen, there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's just saying that," but listen, the Bucks gave him those minutes, and what did he do? He did exactly that, right? 13 points and 12 assists. Hats off to him. Hits Halliburton with the too small after the floater over him. This is playoff basketball, right? Listen, I love Pat Bev. This is something I've been stamped for years now, and people always laugh at me. But listen, he is one of those players that if he is on the opposing team, you hate his guts. If he's on your team, you fucking love him. So hats off to Pat
Hmm.
Bev. Hats off to the Bucks, right? Doc Rivers found himself in a situation down 3-1. So listen, they have the chance to do the funniest thing ever if he comes back from 3-1. But
Yeah. Yeah, man. What's it called? I guess like from the last podcast we had, the Mavs were up 2-1, and so Game 5 already happened, as you guys must have seen or saw, right? Kyrie, like he played the game of his life, man. Literally backpacking, right? Like Luca, he was not himself. I'm gonna say this: this is the first time I've seen Luca like not actually like not like literally not looking like himself in the playoffs. I think that's the first bad game he's ever had in like his whole playoff career, right? And it's still very early on, but he just didn't look like himself, and it's all due to the knee injury, right? The Mavs are actually playing right now. I don't know what the score is, but he said that before the game, they asked him about his knee. He was like, "How's your knee doing?" He said not good, but I'm still play through it. I got to, right? Especially in this series where that this series gets really, really physical, and they can pull away very, very quickly if
yep,
you're not on your A game or whatever, right? So I'm praying that the Mavs are doing their thing right now. But besides that, getting back to Kyrie, tough, man. When I tell you that he's definitely going down as like one of the most skillful players and the NBA has ever seen, that is no joke. That is no joke because the way this man is able to shot create with multiple defenders on him and just create space somehow, some way, it's just insane, man. It's just beautiful to watch, and it was just very heartbreaking because and this is why I shout out the Clippers right here, where PG and Harden, especially
yep,
Harden, where Harden in the fourth quarter, I think he dropped like 12 points or something like that, where it was constant floater, 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 and I was just
yep,
yelling at my TV. I'm like, what's going on? Like it's the same play every single time, right? But Harden, he's been in these situations before, right? He's learned from his past mistakes, successes, and everything, right? And he knew Luca. He had 5 fouls, right? So he
yep.
know Luca wasn't going to play as physical as he wanted to, right? And he knew them. And for some reason, and this is where Jason Kidd has his his faults, as a coach, where he decides to have just Maxey Kleber instead of like what's it called uh what's his name Lively and Gafford instead of those two near down the stretch because we need some rim protection. But Maxi Kleber, he's a great, I guess, defender. Covering like people that shoots the ball, right? Instead of like rim protecting per se. But I feel like you just got to call the timeout and make that change much faster. You cannot just wait till like what the last minute or so. That's the game is pretty much over by then, right?
Yeah,
So PG, but then PG, I just don't know how he does it. Like he just hits a rainbow three, over Derek White. No, not Derek White. Derek Jones. My fault.
yeah,
Yeah, Derek Jones. Rainbow three, and you just watched it. It just felt like it took forever to fall down, and it just fell down. Rainbow swish all net, right? And I
yeah,
think from that point on, that was the dagger, in my opinion, because you know, and that's the thing. Like we didn't capitalize when we got the lead to single digits in the sense like 2 points away, 1 point away. The Clippers just found a way to just keep on scoring, making most opportunities and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean that's just how it is, and it's just going to be very interesting how this series is going to go. And but I think it's much anticipated that that's going to be a game seven type of series where it's going to be back and forth here and there, right? And this is the weirdest thing I've seen where because I came on as here on said this I've said this previously on in the past. Kawhi has been our kryptonite. Kawhi hasn't been our kryptonite in this series for some reason, right? And for some reason, the Clippers seem to find a way to play a lot better without him, right? And that could be maybe due to the when Kawhi is in a game, it's like, all right, Kawhi, do your thing, right? Go be our superhero, right? Go be Superman, right? But you can tell Kawhi is just not healthy, right? He's
no,
not, right? He might be able to do stuff on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, he's just a liability. He's not
yeah,
making shots, right? He's not able to do the things that he wants to do, right? And so it limits his ability, right? And obviously he's in doubt for like the whole series, right?
yeah,
But if I'm the Mavs fan, usually I would be jumping for joy, seeing what I've seen these last four games. I call me crazy. I'd rather have him in this series just because of that, right? Just
yeah,
because it's like, oh, it's more thinking, oh, who should get the ball when it gets down the stretch, right? Instead of when it's just PG and Harden, it's kind of easier to just hot potato or easier to figure out, oh, who has the hotter hand or whatever. But you know, I'm still sticking with the Mavs. I know it's 2-2 right now, but I still got the Mavs in six. And like I said, if it goes to seven, I don't care. I'll still take the Mavs in seven, man.
listen, um, listen. This series just comes down to superstars being superstars, right? And this was the purest. Even with Luca having an off game, he's still giving you, I believe it was 29, 10, and 10. Kyrie giving you
Yeah.
40 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, right? Both of these guys um, equated to a little bit over 62% of their team's points, right? They're just superstars being stars. Then, on LA's side, right, you got PG with 33 points, right? Like you said, that clutch three in the corner. 8 assists, 6 rebounds. James Harden with 33 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just superstar. It was pretty much two on two, right? And unfortunately, in the
Very
clutch,
much.
the Clippers were able to really put the game away. But this is a series like you just said. I predicted to go with 7. Um, but listen, it's just watching this series. It's just beautiful basketball being played on both sides of the ball. And it's crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you would have told me that even with Luca not being himself, the Mavericks still win 2 games out of 4. And if you tell me that the Clippers win 2 games without Kawhi Leonard, I'd be like, yo, what the hell is going on in the series? But this is the Clippers versus Mavericks, right? We've seen this year in and year out. These guys, these teams, they play up for each other, right? When
Mm-hmm.
they know that they got each other across lines, they know what time it is. So beautiful for the sport, right? To just have these rivalries, year after year. And listen, I'm looking forward to game 5, which is on right now. But I'm sure if I check the score,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be like a game. This series is gonna go to 7. It's gonna be close. But you know, moving on to my guys. 76ers down 3-1. They're able to battle back and force a game 6, right? We had to take overtime, right? Um, which even the shot that pretty much sent us to overtime was controversial, which this entire series has been.
Yeah.
And again, I'll reiterate this again. The refs played no role in my mind of how this series goes. But with that being said, Tyrese Maxey, 49 points,
Woo.
5 rebounds, 9 assists. Like, there
Talk
is no
about it.
question anymore. He is a superstar, and he will definitely show it next season. That he's gonna get paid. He's gonna get the supermax. And listen, man, like, you're talking about where your quote unquote best player in Joel Embiid gives you 19 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, and 10 turnovers. Right? Talk about a quadruple double off of turnovers. Like, where
You mean
you just
Toby?
Speaking of, Tobias Harris, 19 points, 8 rebounds, and this is the first time in the Joel Embiid era where we've had somebody since Jimmy Butler where you could give them the basketball and they just say, "Get the fuck out of my way," right? Like, and
Yes.
listen, like, and I'll be the first person to tell you when Tyrese took that deep ass three, I damn near punched my TV. I was like, "What the fuck are we?" Did this shit win it? I was like, "Okay, I'll shut the fuck up." Listen, this man is the only reason why we squeaked out of this game, because then on the other side you got Jalen Brunson, who's been doing his thing this entire series, 40 points, six assists.
Yeah.
Josh Hart, who again has been doing his thing, 18 points, 9 rebounds. OG Anunoby with a big game, 17.6 rebounds. Like, again, if it wasn't for the fact that Maxey damn near had 50, the Sixers are on a flight to Cancun right now. So I feel like Embiid, he's just not right. Playing on half a leg. But this is
Yeah.
the thing, like, we've been accustomed to it, right? But I believe this year is the difference where Maxey, we have a guy that we're comfortable saying, yeah, right. So we'll see if he.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Like the Sixers, that was a crazy game, man. Like I was doing some homework, but then I had to drop everything and just watch the game because Maxey was going crazy, right? And I had to witness greatness, right? You got to respect greatness, right? And like and look, I'll say this again. I don't care. Brunson has been going crazy these last 2 games. I still stand by my take. Maxey has been the best point guard in this series in a total, right? And when you're talking about all 5 games, take into account everything, Maxey has been the best point guard, and there's no question about it. Um, so it's just beautiful to see. Honestly, it is because he was like a late first round pick. People had him on the back burners, right? But then Sixers to pick him up, and I think and I said this in our our group chat that we have for basketball. I said that Harden coming to Philly was probably one of the best things that happened to Maxey, right? Because Harden, for what we can always say about his antics and stuff like that, he was a mentor for Maxey. He learned like Maxey was able to soak up what Harden had to offer, right? And so having that year slash more a little bit more than half a year of playing with Harden really showed today for sure, man. Especially in these playoffs, right? He's been going nuclear almost every single game, right?
Yeah,
And it's been warranted, right? And I think one of the coolest moments during that game was when the cameras panned over to Maxey talking to Embiid. It's like, I got you 2 more. Let's go get it. 2 more, man. Right? And so stuff like that, it really puts a smile on my face, and it's like that's a player that's going to be good for a long time, right? And I just got
yeah,
to say, you guys got yourself a very good one, man.
yeah. I feel like you know this has been this whole ride of a season has been a
Mm-hmm.
great showcase Tyrese Maxey can be. Because I believe kind of the same thing I've been saying about Victor Wembanyama. Like, this is the worst Tyrese Maxey that we've seen. That we're gonna see moving forward. Like, I'm gonna take another jump next season. Especially getting that super max, and he's one of those players that you can tell loves the game. You can tell that like the man damn near played the entire game, and he was shooting free throws and wasn't even sweating, like not even pissing. His mouth was closed. Like you can tell, like he puts work in the off season. He puts work in during the season. Like he is built for these moments. He's built for this city. And listen, I can't be any more excited to see what player Tyrese Maxey really develops into next season. But with that being said, man, this has been no bullshit, man. Like you guys again have been going crazy on
Yeah.
our videos. I believe
Woo.
our Chargers 49ers video is pretty up to 100 view mark, which would be the second
Mm-hmm.
video we have on this video
Yeah.
out to
Yes,
be
sir. Yes, sir. Peace out.